What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon to some out there. It is the Earthmaster on this beautiful Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 date. It's about 11:25 a.m. California time. Got a 1.9 earthquake on the earthquake 3D globe here. Looks like in the Puerto Rico area, the latest quake here on the earthquake 3D globe. Let's go ahead and check out some activity around the rest of the world as we look at the latest map here from the USGS source, showing no major significant large earthquake activity over the last 24 hours, but we have noticed an increase in movement up here to the north, up here around the Gulf of Alaska region. This is the 2.5 map and above, showing quite a bit of activity throughout the Aleutian Trench and upward towards the Anchorage area and Denali region. So a little bit of heightened activity up there today. We haven't seen any further movement off the coast here of Canada. Of course, we did see that activity kind of kick up last night, or yesterday, I should say, along the northern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. We also had a little bit of activity up here further north, but looks like that's kind of tapered off a little bit, and movement has been confined mostly up here to the northern part of the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate boundary up here into the subduction zone. And majority of these here, nothing significant. We've seen a couple 4s, 3s, and a bunch of microquakes within this area. Some deep, some not so deep. So a little bit of adjustment going on up here around the northern section. A little bit of activity over here in Japan as well, into the Japan Trench. Most recent quake here this morning. We've seen a 4.4 into the Japan Trench area at about 58 kilometers down there, just offshore. And a little bit of activity kind of ramping up here around the Papua New Guinea region. We've seen a 5.6 overnight. Most recent one, a 4.5. A little cluster of quakes here around the Bismarck Sea, there around Papua New Guinea. And it looks like we're starting to get a little return of some deep earthquake adjustment into the Fiji Islands area, into the Tonga Trench, 4.5 at 592 kilometers, almost down there around 600 kilometers. So starting to get that cycle going back again there for deep earthquake activity. Movement here in China, throughout Afghanistan area. Of course, this area was kind of lightened up pretty significantly yesterday. Looks like it's tapered off slightly. We only seen a 4.6 here in this area of Iran earlier this morning. Nothing major going on throughout the Mediterranean. Looks like things kind of quiet there for now, at least in terms of 4.0 and above. Over here in the Atlantic Ocean, this one here is from yesterday, 5.1 once again out there in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, where we've seen quite a bit of swarming activity here over the last week with a bunch of 4s and 5s, looking at 14 of them. But today, looks like it's kind of dying off a little bit, so we haven't really seen anything yet in that area. South America, about the same, not a whole lot of activity ramping up there at all. There's a Puerto Rico Trench movement. Looks like most of it confined there to the southwestern portion of Puerto Rico, including that 1.9 that was noted on the globe. Eastern part of the country here, pretty quiet. We got one earthquake out here in the New Madrid zone, a 1.9 near the Tiptonville, Tennessee area. 1.9 at 5.9 kilometers here, right smack dab into the hazard area of the New Madrid zone. We'll bring up the U.S. hazard map here, show you that specifically right smack dab in it. So it does see some movement on occasion. These little microquakes come and go in this area from time to time. Texas got a little bit of activity, spotty movement today. It looks like mostly in the 2 range around the Pecos, Texas area out here in western Texas. And West Coast activity. Let's see what we got here. Seen a little bit of increased movement here along the coastal range. This 2.2 just coming into the Upper Lake area. Well, it's well north of Upper Lake. But it looks like it's off the Bartlett Springs fault system at a pretty shallow depth there. We've noticed a little line of activity along the coastal range over the last 24 hours. Just mostly microquakes. But that 2.2 just coming in right now. This activity outside of Redding here on the Battle Creek Fault Zone is some older movement from yesterday. And of course down here along the Cobb Mountain region, still seeing some activity. Looks like a couple earthquakes or so down there, 26 earthquakes to be exact, around the hydrothermal field out there. Bay Area looks pretty quiet here, only a 1.6 near the Black Hawk area, and also down here around San Jose a 0.9, so not a whole lot of significant movement taking place there in the Bay Area. Or if you look at the map, for the most part, California in general, some spotty activity throughout the eastern Sierra Nevada today, but even in Southern California, look at this. Not a whole lot of movement taking place here. We did have a 2.8 offshore. That's about the only notable quake, I would say. And even then, not that much. 2.8 way out there in the Pacific at 1 kilometer. Really shallow earthquake. Looks like it's right around the Santa Cruz, Santa Catalina Ridge fault zone. Looks like there's a couple different sections here. Kind of run up through here. But that's about it. I mean, looking at the rest of the West Coast, aside from that movement up around Redding yesterday, not a whole lot above the 2.5 threshold, and in general, not a whole lot of earthquake activity taking place. One earthquake on the Brawley seismic zone from, looks like earlier this morning's time frame. That one at 1.1 for the magnitude. But no major swarms to report at all along the west coast today, folks. Yellowstone National Park, low activity up there, right on the map. Kind of want to see if they filled in any of the quakes. Doesn't look like they've included all of them. They're still only showing probably about half of them from that swarm that we seen there a few days ago. This area has seen quite a bit of swarming and rainfall. Looks like the latest update here, excuse me, from the Yellowstone National Park still shows that the area is closed due to some heavy rainfall here a couple days ago. I'm sure you guys seen all these photos and videos floating around of the employee housing falling off into the creek due to the eroding of the area. I mean, this is just one road that shows some eroding due to high water levels, 400% above average for precipitation totals for the month of June for this area. So they've seen quite a bit of rainfall taking place here around the Yellowstone National Park. And as of right now, it looks like all roads are still closed, all entrances into Yellowstone National Park. Uncertain on how long this is going to be. I know it does take time to fix all this stuff up. Wait for the ground to dry out a little bit before you can start setting these roads back up. So it's a pretty serious event up there. But hopefully those guys would dry out for a little bit and get back to normal, right? Because it is their busy time. All entrances to Yellowstone National Park closed temporarily due to heavy flooding, rock slides, extremely hazardous conditions. So kind of just shows that Mother Nature will take over, right? One way or the other. And there's a bunch of videos and photos and stuff like that on there. I'm not going to show them all, but man, you guys should check them out. Definitely quite a bit there on the Google search map. Oh yeah, I was going to check Yellowstone here. Check out the overview. It looks like the swarm has kind of tapered off a little bit, huh? Looking at the latest map, only looks like a couple little bitty spikes on the Yellowstone map throughout the course of the morning time frame, but the swarm, continual swarm, looks like it's died off here for now. The tremor map from last night didn't show a whole lot going on, just a little activity into the northern California with 8 epicenters of tremor along the Cascadia subduction zone. Let's go ahead and check out the Mount St. Helens graph here real quick. I'd like to double check this every single day just to make sure. I got to pick up the definitely got to reamp the live seismograph station here from this area for the live stream. I was having some issues with it. It was down for a little while, but it looks like the plate boundary stations are back. Looks a little more active overnight, I'd say. From the update video last night, a good handful of little quakes there at Mount St. Helens. And again, these are very small microquakes, folks. Not a whole lot of large ones in there. And about the same for the day before. So either way, they're still definitely got almost like a continual amount of microquakes on any given day. It's just pretty crazy, but it's not anything to worry about at the moment, I believe. Let's see what else we got. Earthquakes Canada. These guys are showing a little bit of activity yesterday here within the vicinity of that 4.6 that struck. And these guys still have it noted as a 5.1 and to the back side of the Cascadia along the plate boundary of the Pacific and the Juan de Fuca plate, or if you want to be exact, the Explorer plate up here. So, and it looks like there's been a couple other smaller quakes within that region, a couple of threes popping off there following that, as these guys have listed, the 5.1. A little bit further upstream too, we've seen that 3.8 come in, and a little, like I say, a little enhanced activity for sure along the western coast here of Canada. That's highly noted, right? I mean, that's pretty obvious for sure in this area. The rest of Canada looks pretty spotty. Nothing showing up here within the last day. All this activity from days past and weeks past. And again, the USGS was showing this. Let me show you guys exactly where this quake kind of struck at. Did they downgrade that quake? Oh no, it's up there. Yeah, the 4.6. It looks like these guys have actually adjusted a little bit. If I remember right, this thing was directly over the Cascadia. Now it's just kind of west a little bit by about 10 miles. Still awfully close. And it looks like they've adjusted the depth there to 9.1 kilometers compared to, I think they had this at 33 kilometers before. So, yeah, a little adjustment. I mean, these guys, I guess one person reviews it, they put it out, you know, to the notification system, and then maybe somebody else steps in. That's not where it's at. Let's double check it. And then they make these other adjustments here. So either way, awfully close. Definitely awfully close here to the Cascadia subduction zone. But as you can see today, things kind of mellowing out for sure within this region. And even though there's microquake activity here along the west coast, not a whole lot going on in terms of any swarming or any major quake activity right now. But definitely following this deeper movement here within the last, when did that take place here? Looks like about 3 hours or so ago. Got to watch, definitely got to watch the plate systems now, considering this deeper earthquake movement. It does happen quite a bit. Whenever we see deep earthquake activity here, things tend to get moving. It tends to start the plate tectonic train, so to speak. Solar weather activity today is still somewhat elevated. Looking at some crackling and popping of the solar sunspots right now. The sunspots on the disk. Obviously, when it kind of gets like this here, see this, guys? There's a little crackling and popping. That's very active activity, about ready to spark up a probably a good M flare here pretty soon. It is getting into the upper C category and reaching almost to the M flare level. But like I said, when we see that, things tend to really ramp up in that state. And it's coming from quite a few of these sunspots here. 3030, 3032. Got a new development, 3033, 3034. All these sunspots are growing and crackling with lots of C flares currently. So I expect some M flare potential here pretty soon. These guys have elevated the M flare up to 35% chance with a 10% chance of an X flare, 85% chance for a C flare. And got to watch those sunspots pretty closely today. Looks like aurora forecasts on the June 15th time frame. G1 class storms expected. or forecasted, I should say, with KP index up there around 5 to 6. Higher latitudes see a pretty good chance of seeing that aurora forecast or aurora possibility come the June 15th time frame. So either way, we'll watch it, folks. Definitely getting pretty active there on the sun again, and we'll just see what she wants to do. All right, guys, have a good day. I'm gonna jump off here, and we'll chat you guys a little bit later tonight with the update. Stay safe, everyone.